episode of Beyond the Stable. If you're watching this, you've probably already noticed, but I'm actually on my own today. Today, I thought I would do a little solo episode. And I know a lot of you are probably like, I'm going to click off of this now. And yeah, fair enough, I probably would too. But I thought my interview style is very much I kind of just let the person speak at me, tell them about, like, let them tell me all about them and their stories. I'll very rarely like speak about myself in my interviews because obviously I'm there to learn from that person and hear about them. So I feel like you're probably like, when I'm doing these, you're clicking on these videos to watch obviously these amazing people, but I thought to have some context on me might be quite nice. So whilst I don't have anyone booked in today, I thought I would just do a little solo episode and speak about myself so you guys can get to know me. I'll try and keep it interesting. I'm going to speak about how I got into horses, my riding accidents, because I have been pretty hurt through horses. I'm going to speak about my confidence issues. I'm going to speak about my equestrian clothing line, Atlantic Harmony, and how I started that. I'm going to speak about the collection that we did with Millie Stennett and what it was really like working with her. I'm going to speak about my first event that I did. And yeah, I'm gonna try and keep it interesting. Yeah, and I just thought it'd be fun for you guys just to learn a little bit more about me, and yeah, just get to know me a bit. So then when I'm doing these interviews, I'm not just like this random face. You know, actually have a little bit of background on me as well. So I'll get straight into it just by like speaking about how I got into horses, because I feel like most people start riding from a very young age, like 3 years old, 4 years old. They're like, my mum stuck me on a horse. Whereas my story was not quite like that. I really wish it was. I wish I'd found horses when I was younger because I absolutely love them now. And I just think, God, if I had found horses when I was younger, I wonder like how my life would be different now. But I didn't. I grew up in Scotland. So I actually lived in Scotland till I was 13 years old, and then I moved across to England, where I'm now based in Leicestershire or Shire, Leicestershire, whatever, however you want to say it. Yeah, I'm now based in Leicester. I moved across, like I said, when I was 13. I knew no one. I had no friends. It was scary. I feel like looking back, that's quite a big thing for a 13-year-old to do. Like uproot and like start a new life, and it's like such a weird age to do it. Like it's like yeah, I don't know, it's a funny age. So yeah, that's what happened. I moved to Leicester and I didn't have anything to do with horses whilst I lived in Scotland. Then when I moved to Leicester, we obviously bought a house and my parents decided they wanted to like renovate it all. So literally the house got like fully knocked down and rebuilt. Like they didn't just renovate it, they rebuilt the house. So whilst the house was being rebuilt, we actually went and lived with my friend. I feel like she's not going to care if I say her name, but we lived with my friend Holly. I've actually probably spoken about her like in my first episode, and maybe other episodes as well, to be fair. But yeah, I live with my friend Holly. She has a beautiful big house with land. She's very fortunate to keep her horses at home. And yeah, I lived with her for 10 months whilst our house was being rebuilt. So whilst I was living with her, obviously she had the horses out on her land, and I actually moved to England during the summer holidays. So it was I don't know how long the summer holidays are, like a good couple of weeks, aren't they? They're long. I had all that time and I had literally had no friends. I knew Holly because I've known Holly literally since I was a baby. Like our parents have been friends for years, and like I've literally known Holly since the day I was born. Well, since she was born. God, I'm rambling, aren't I? Anyway, I've known Holly forever. So I had her as a friend. So I did everything with Holly that entire summer. She was very kind, introduced me to all her friends, and made me feel very welcome in England straight away because it was a scary thing for me to do. She is the year younger than me, so then when I went to school, I had to like make my own set of friends at school. But during that summer, I've really enjoyed it, and I feel like if I hadn't had Holly there that summer, I don't know what I would have done, and I definitely wouldn't have found horses because, like I said, the only reason I found horses is because I lived in Holly's house and she had them in her back garden. So I'd literally go out to the horses every single day with Holly, help her muck out, help her poo pick, help her groom. Like I did all of that kind of stuff before I ever got to sit on the horse. I feel like I lived with Holly a good few months, just getting up with her every single day and helping her with her jobs before I actually got to sit on a horse, which I feel like was a really nice way to do it. I feel like it's quite opposite to what most people do. I feel like most people go for their riding lessons, learn to ride, and then learn the kind of care bit afterwards. But yeah, I did it the other way around, which was strange, but very, very nice. And I feel like it showed me that I actually did have a passion for and really liked the horses. The fact that I went up there every single day for like a good few months before I ever got to sit on one. And literally just picking up poo. So yeah, I helped Hol out for a while, and the horses she had weren't dangerous horses. They were nice enough. They were really, really nice horses. But they weren't like riding school horses. She'd have a horse called O'Malley that she had for a couple weeks when I first moved down. Um, it she sold that quite soon after I moved to England. It wasn't looking back on it now. Like, obviously, at the time, I had no idea about horses, but looking back on it now, it wasn't a suitable horse for Holly. I don't think it would have been a suitable horse for a lot of people. He was very spooky, very, very unpredictable. I think he had Hol off a lot. Um, yeah, yeah, wasn't a good horse for Hol, and like I say, probably wouldn't have been a good horse for a lot of people. So he quickly went, and then the horses that she had, then she had a 14, he was, no, not 14, 14, like 13-2, 13-1 little pony. He was so cute. His name was Will. And then her mum actually had a horse as well, and his name was Casper, and he was like a 16-1 beautiful thoroughbred. Um, so yeah, I was around them all the time. I'd literally walk out with Holly on hacks, like they don't have a menage at their house. It's literally just fields. So there's like a school that they hire to go have lessons and stuff. So I'd literally like walk up with her, go watch her lessons. And then one day, I really didn't, like I said, I didn't expect to be able to sit on these horses because they weren't riding school horses. They were not quirky, a little bit quirky, like yeah, they just weren't riding school ponies. They're not the kind of ponies you'd learn to ride on. So I never expected to be allowed to sit on it. And then one day Holly turned around to me and said, "Oh, do you want to give Will a hack up the road?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I do, duh." And yeah, I got to ride Will. And then I'd always had my eye on Casper. I don't know what it was about Casper. Probably because he was a beautiful 16-1 bay. Um, I always wanted to have a like I just had my eye on him, and I was hoping one day I would be allowed to sit on him. And one day she did. She let me walk him up the road, and yeah, for probably a couple months, no, not a couple weeks, like a month or so. She let me ride them every now and then. Literally, she would just walk me up and down the road, holding on to me. And then yeah, and then I started going for riding lessons at the riding school. And I was a funny age, like I hated learning to ride because I was 13 and I was too young to go in with the adult lessons, and yeah, and too old to be with the kids really, because the kids were like 6 and 7 and obviously adults were adults, and I was 13, so I was a funny age. They put me in with the kids and I hated it. I hated it so much. And I feel like I hated it because the girls that would like lead you around, obviously when you learn to ride someone will lead you around, like I had no riding experience whatsoever, so yeah, they lead you around and hold your leg when you trot and hold your leg when you canter and help you steer or whatever. And the girls that'd be leading me around would be like my kind of age. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Like I'm in lessons with 6-year-olds. I just remember hating it. And I wasn't a natural rider at all. Like it took me so long to get my canter, so long to get my trot. I just hated it. I hated learning to ride, but I wanted to learn to ride so, so badly. I just hated those lessons. And I feel like it's important for context to say that my mum rides horses as well, and she rode horses when she was younger. She used to do affiliate show jumping, and as she says, like I feel like all mums say, she was a very good rider back in her day, back in my day. So yeah, she was a good rider back in her day. Apparently, I've not seen any proof of the fact, and when she's listening to this, she's going to be, "Well, Megan, let me show you, let me do this." Guarantee it. If you haven't seen my mum, also go check out my TikTok because she's the funniest woman ever. You all love my mum. Yeah, I love the vlogs that have my mum on my TikTok, so go check them out. Little plug there. So yeah, my mum did know how to ride, and she was also getting back into it, and she loved having the horses at Holly's as well, and she was riding the 16-1 bay quite a lot too. Obviously she could ride, so there came a time after I'd had a couple riding lessons and stuff that we could go out on hacks together. Like when Holly and her family would go on holiday, they would let us take Casper and Will out on hacks and stuff, which was very, very kind of them. So yeah, I feel like I was probably in riding lessons the whole time I lived with Holly, and then we moved into our house and probably was continuing with the riding lessons. And then Holly started competing again. The season must have started again after that. I'd go out with her, watch the competitions, and then I think I always knew I would like competing, because Holly and again, she won't mind me saying this. I hope not. Anyway, Hol, I'm so sorry if you're watching this. She's like, stop speaking about me. But Hol gets very nervous when competing. Like she'll literally physically be sick when she's competing. Well, it's not even nerves. Well, it must be some kind of nerves. But yeah, she's sick when she's competing. Like she always smashes it. She does sick. Like she's so good. But yeah, she's always sick. I don't know why that was relevant to the story. Yeah, maybe just because I knew that I would love it. I don't know why that was relevant at all. But yeah, I'd go out, watch Hol at competitions and stuff, and then Hol was getting back into her competing, so was kind of looking for like more of a competition horse. So she went and started viewing horses, and like I did, I went everywhere with her. She took me everywhere. Like she was so good to me, and I feel like I've never actually said this to Holly. Like when I first moved here, she was so good to me. She introduced me to all of her friends. Like that summer, like I didn't know anyone. Like she like introduced me to so many people, gave me so many friends. Obviously, I wouldn't be into horses. I wouldn't be sat here filming this podcast if it wasn't for Holly. And I'm so grateful to her for like showing me this world, I guess. And I've obviously made it my own now. But yeah, I would never have got into it if it wasn't for her. Anyway, she was viewing horses and I would go along with her and she'd invite me everywhere and I'd happily go because I loved it. And like anytime she needed help at competitions, I always go because I loved it. And even still to this day, if Hol texts me saying, "Oh, come help me here," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down." Like little day trip, isn't it? I love a little horsey day trip. So yeah, she was viewing horses, went with her, and she was viewing a couple, and I seen one, and I really liked it. My mum obviously really liked it, and my mum could obviously ride as well. So we bought it. Probably not a good idea. Like I feel like hindsight is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing, and we shouldn't have bought a horse. I could barely canter at the time. Mum was still getting back into it, and we didn't have a network. And I feel like in horses, I feel like people don't speak about this enough, but I feel like in horses, having a network around you is so, so, so important. Like obviously we had Holly and her mum, but out with that, that was our equestrian network. If I look at my equestrian network now, Jesus Christ, it's huge in comparison. And yeah, we just didn't have a horsey network either for anyone to point us in the right direction or say you probably shouldn't buy that now. It was just me being excited, mum being excited and going, oh god then. So yeah, hindsight, shouldn't have bought the horse. Anyway, we bought this horse. He would be a beautiful horse for me now, and if someone offered me him now, I'd be like, oh yeah, please. Because I think the girl who had him after us ended up going out eventing him, and he was quite successful. Not like a burly horse or anything like that, but I think he did like BE and bits and bobs. Um, but yeah, we hadn't had him long at all whatsoever. My mum took him out hacking, and he just reared on the road with her. He reared up twice, maybe 3 times vertical, and then on the 4th time, went back, landed on top of her. He then rolled on her twice whilst trying to get up, and yeah, she got pretty hurt. She broke all of her ribs, 5 breaks to her back, 3 breaks to her pelvis, and she had a collapsed lung also. Sorry, just trying to remember that. So yeah, not good at all. And they actually said if she wasn't wearing a body protector that day, then she would have died. So when I see people not wearing body protectors or air jackets or something, when they're like doing like something, I don't know. I feel like I'm quite a hypocrite because I will go hacking now without a body protector on. But when I see people show jumping or something without a body protector, I know like no show jumpers wear body protectors, but I just think, God, if you landed on that pole funny, that could be for you. But yeah, anyways, the body protector saved her life. And I'll always tell my friends that if anyone's jumping my horse, I will now always force them to wear a body protector. And Amelia will know. Like Amelia rides my horse now all the time. Amelia's been on the podcast. You guys, I feel like you'll know her. She was in the first episode. I'll always force her to wear a body protector because of what happened to my mum. Anyway, the dealer was absolutely amazing. They took the horse back, which obviously they didn't have to at all, but they were very understanding like of the situation, and they obviously knew they were going to probably be able to sell the horse again. Like it was just a freak accident. I don't know why he reared that day, but he did, and yeah, it was just a freak one. Anyway, the dealer took it back. Very nice of them. They didn't have to do that. Mum then had a very long recovery ahead of her. There was actually a point where they told us that we might have to say goodbye to her, which was really strange. Not strange. Why am I saying? Oh God, I'm so bad with my words. It wasn't strange. Like that they would say, obviously, if your mum's gonna die, you're gonna have to say goodbye. But I feel like I didn't realise the severity of the situation until they said that to me. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say on that topic. Like she had to sleep downstairs for a long time because she couldn't walk. Obviously, she'd broken her back. She had to learn to walk again. She was in hospital for months. She went to like a special hospital, and then she got transferred back to our local, our more local hospital. I don't know how long she was in hospital, like in total, but it was a very long time. And like I said, then she slept downstairs, and the recovery was very, very long after that too. And she still suffers from bits and bobs now, like due to the accident. Like she can't sit for long periods of time and stuff because of the way like her bones have reformed. Like she's got a cluster, I don't know, something. And it where she broke her pelvis and she struggles to sit now. With riding, like she'll also feel bits and bobs when she's riding, and sometimes will struggle with stuff. Um, After all of that happened, I was still going for riding lessons at the riding school. Mum was obviously recovering, and I was still going out to competitions with Holly and helping her out at competitions. I say helping her out, I was probably literally just watching because I probably didn't even know what I was doing back then. But we'll say helping her out. And then I met a lady who soon became my instructor, and she found a horse for me on full loan. And if I could say something to anyone, before you buy a horse, loan it or part loan it. Like, get a feel of what it's going to be like. So yeah, we full loaned this horse. He was a Welsh Section D. His name was Tally, and that horse taught me how to ride. Like, I loved that horse. I still love him. Sadly, he has passed away now. I didn't have him that long, probably just over a year I had that horse for. But he was a schoolmaster, we say with a twist. He was still spooky. He loved his hacking, like, and loved going in fields. He'd take off with you in fields, but he was very well behaved. He would throw in like the odd stop at jumping and stuff like that, but he was a schoolmaster. He'd been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and he was the perfect horse really for me to learn to ride because he had enough about him that I had to learn to ride, but he still knew his job and knew what he was meant to do. Yeah, I did loads with him, mainly show jumping and fun rides. I feel like were our main thing. All my friends show jumped at the time. I didn't really do dressage at the time, because no one around me was doing dressage. Everyone around me was like show jumpers. So yeah, I show jumped and literally just at local shows, but we got up to probably like 80 centimeters, and he was like 21, 22 when I had him, so that was his max height. Um, and all my friends had started jumping bigger, like 90s and meters, and that's when I was like, oh god, like, I feel a bit left out, I feel a bit left behind. And keep in mind, at the time I'm still like 14 years old. Um and yeah, it's just a kid. I was literally just being a kid. I felt left out. I wanted another horse because I wanted to jump higher like my friends were. Looking back, I wasn't ready for another horse. Again, hindsight, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. I should have stuck with Tally for another year, found my feet a little bit more. But my instructor, she said go for it. She advised it'd be fine. Um, so yeah, we did, and I think because I was so desperate to be doing what my friends were doing, I rushed into the decision of getting the horse that we got. He was really good at the viewing, to be fair. He did take off with me a little bit after a fence, but again, got him back quite quickly. Nothing I couldn't deal with. My instructor was really happy with him. She said, go for it. I feel like the dealer put a lot of pressure on us, which dealers do, and told us, like, yeah, there's more people coming to view him, like, someone else is about to put a deposit down on him, all of this. And either it was true or I fell for it. Either way, we bought that pony pretty quickly, didn't go back for a second viewing. Now, if I was buying something, I would pretty much always go back for a second viewing. So yeah, got him. He was one of I think he could be the quirkiest pony I've ever met, if not one of. We got him home, and I remember the first ride I had on him. Took him around the school, just walking around the school. And obviously the school's lettered with your A, C, K, M, whatever. He spooked every single letter. And when I say spook, he would jump to the side and run, like bolt, off with you, come back. You'd walk him again, past the next letter. And obviously letters come up pretty quickly, don't they? So you can imagine a horse jumping, running, jumping, running, jumping, running, jumping, running. At every single letter. That was my first ride on him. I think I fell off him at least twice a week when I first got him. And it wasn't long before I had a bad fall on him. And I was at a pony camp. A bit of my fault, a bit of the instructor's fault. He was spooky horse, very spooky, scared of fillers, etc. He was refusing this jump. The instructor told me, right, just show him the jump, show him the jump. So I was showing him the jump. She said, right, put him a little bit closer to it, closer to it. Little nudge, closer, closer. And he thought I wanted him to jump it. Jumped it from, like, obviously I was literally just showing him the jump, like, hands down, like, letting him sniff it. And Cat leapt over the jump with me. I came out the saddle, landed on the pole, and I landed on the pole on my humerus, and I screamed. Like, I actually screamed. Yeah, I screamed. I'd never felt pain like it, like, in my whole life. Went, obviously, hospital. My mum just drove me. Like, I didn't need an ambulance. I'd literally just broken my arm. She drove me. I remember going over every single speed bump. Every speed bump would go over it. But, I could feel the bones, like, hitting against each other. I knew I'd broke it. I was trying to convince myself I hadn't broke it, but I feel like I know. And when I was walking, I could hear them and feel like them scratching against each other. Anyway, they put a cast on it, sent me on my way, whatever it is, 6 to 8 weeks. It didn't heal after 6 to 8 weeks. They then had to operate on it. Just not ideal. So I'd already waited the 6 to 8 weeks. Then they decided they were going to operate it. Then I think it was another 6 to 8 weeks after they'd operated on it, and then all your physio. It was long. It was a very long process. The operation was horrible. They gave me some kind of injection after the operation. I had to have it like every hour, every 2 hours, something like that. And I must have been allergic to it because after every time they gave me the injection, like every hour, every 2 hours, I would pass out. And it was horrible. I was sweating. I'd pass out. I feel like if you know, like, when you pass out, like, you lose all your hearing. It's horrible. Passing out is horrible. And I have suffered with passing out, like, before this operation. And yeah, I hated it. Horrible. Then I had to do all the physio. It was just a long process. And I feel like by this point, I understood that you get hurt doing horse riding. I'd obviously seen my mum got seriously hurt. And now I'd got, not seriously hurt, but, like, the recovery was long. And I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the recovery is worse than actually getting hurt because you have time for it to sink in and think about everything that went wrong and yeah, just how dangerous the sport actually is. Like, obviously, we all know that the sport is dangerous, but that recovery when you sat and you can't ride and you can't do a whole lot, you've got a lot of time to think about how dangerous the sport is. And I think after that accident, I realised, okay, this sport is pretty dangerous. And because with my mum's accident, everyone kept saying, oh, it was a freak accident. It was a freak accident. Like, it shouldn't have happened. And then I had my first accident. And I thought, oh, God, yeah, you do get hurt in this sport. So, yeah. Anyway, started riding again. Thankfully, it did knock my confidence, but not too much, I don't think. Actually, that is such a lie. I went from jumping 80 centimetres on tally to not jumping. This is when I started dressage, so it did knock my confidence. I started doing dressage on my new horse, which was called Shanty. Well, it was actually called Shannon. Who the hell named my gelding? Well, he's not my gelding anymore, but the gelding I bought. Who named him Shannon? Who's naming a boy Shannon? I want to know who named him because I would never name a gelding Shannon. But we changed it to Shanty, and that is obviously bad luck. So I don't know if I just cursed myself. Who knows? Has anyone else experienced stuff like that? Do we believe in that? I want to know if people believe in that. If you change a horse's name, is that bad luck? Like, have you changed a horse's name and has it been all right? Or has everyone had bad luck? Because I know a lot of people say it's bad luck and you should never change a horse's name. We didn't change it on the passport. We just changed his stable name to Shanty. Like, we would call him Shanty because it sounds nicer, I think. Better than Shannon. It was similar. We wanted it to be similar. So, yeah, we changed his name to Shanty. So maybe that was why everything went wrong. Anyway, I'd made some more friends and stuff by then in the horsey world. My network had grown, and a girl called Lucy, again, don't think she'll be mind using her real name, I don't think. She started riding Shanty for me. They had a really, really great partnership. She was the kind of rider, well, I think she still is the kind of rider, not really that close with her anymore, but I see her riding and stuff on Instagram still. But she's the kind of rider who enjoys the quirky horses, likes a buck. If they're not throwing in a buck, it's boring. You know, like one of those kind of riders. Could never relate. Will never be me. But yeah, she started riding him, and they had a great partnership. She took him out show jumping. I think she took him to a little one-day event, and they got on really well. And while she was doing all this, I started doing the dressage and stuff on him, and she would jump him for me. And then I started getting back into the jumping a little bit. Really, really, really tiny fences. Literally, when I say, I don't even think you could class them as jumps, actually. Literally poles on the floor, like 30 centimetres maybe, 30 centimetre across, 40 centimetre across. And like literally just single fences. I never really got back into the jumping. But then I went to Brooksby. Yeah, if you're from Leicester area, or like maybe if you've even looked at like going to equine college, you've probably come across it. I went to an equine college called Brooksby, and I did struggle with my confidence a lot there. But I was doing more there than I was doing at home. I was competing in dressage at home, but jumping wise, I was not jumping at home. But I would have the odd little jump at Brooksby. There's not really much to say about Brooksby. I feel like I learned a decent amount, but also not. I don't know. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I met a lot of nice people. Uh, it was a filler year, I would say. Like when you finish your GCSEs and you don't know what to do, it was my filler year. Kind of, but my plan was to go be a farrier afterwards, after Brooksby. But that didn't happen because Shanti had me off again. And he broke my femur. And do I want to say the whole femur accident story? Yeah. If you're a bit squeamish, maybe don't listen to this part. Because I don't know if it's squeamish or not. But yeah, I fell off Shanti. He just wanted me off. He was bronking around the arena with me, came up. I went one way, he went the other way. Just must have landed funny on it because it wasn't a bad fall. And I broke my femur, which didn't actually hurt. Surprisingly, when I landed on the floor, I said, "Oh, I need to get back on," and everyone's going, "Don't move, don't move, don't move." And I went, "I need to get up and get back on." Everyone, "Don't move, don't move, don't move." I was like, "Okay, just sat still. Well, lay still." And then I was like, oh, "Fuck this! I'm gonna get up." Went to try and move my leg, and it wouldn't move. The bottom part of my leg wasn't moving, and I thought, "That's not good, is it?" And I remember thinking, "Oh my god, like I'm paralysed." Obviously, I wasn't. But everything rushes into your head, doesn't it? And you start panicking and thinking the worst. And it was Christmas Eve that I had this accident. And I lay on the floor for almost 3 hours waiting for an ambulance. Yeah, Christmas Eve. I think everyone must have well, this is what they told me afterwards. Like drunk people were just calling the ambulance. Obviously, if they'd fallen down the stairs or whatever, little bits and bobs like that. And they didn't realise how serious my fall had been, and obviously if they'd known, they probably would have got there a lot quicker. Because you can, now someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can die from a femur break, like if it hits the wrong nerve or something like that. Yeah, lay there. I lay there watching Peaky Blinders for like 2 hours, and now I really loved that show. Never got to finish it because every time I would watch it, it would make me feel ill. So I could never finish it, which is really, really sad because it just reminded me of that accident and lying there on the floor. And it was like I don't know, minus something cold that night, and everyone was putting horse blankets on me and horse rugs. And because then I'd been lying there on the floor for so long, they then couldn't find a vein to inject me before they moved me. Like they were trying to give me like some kind of pain relief before they moved me. And yeah, they couldn't find the vein because I'd been lying there so long in the cold. And it was horrible. And they had to move me. I just had gas and air. And the whole time I'd been lying there, I hadn't been in pain. I was cold. And that was about it. I couldn't move my leg and I was cold. But I hadn't tried to move. I tried to move that one time and then I didn't try again. I was just cold and I just wanted to be out of that school because I was freezing. And I hadn't been in pain until they moved me. Oh my god, as soon as they started to move me, that pain kicked in. And I've never felt pain like it. I've never felt pain like it. And everyone from the yard was lifting my stretcher. So they put me on a stretcher. Everyone took a strap. There was like 4 people or something. And two ambulance people, 2 people I knew. One being the yard owner's dad. I remember looking at him like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I would be like squeezing his hand. I'm so sorry. Um, yeah, and they moved me, and yeah, I've never felt pain like it ever. Like, I would not wish that kind of pain on anyone. I don't know what like, I don't know what that sensation was, but it's like it comes in waves. Like, it'd be fine, 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 excruciating, fine, 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 excruciating. Uh, I think I broke it quite good. I think I was lucky it didn't pierce the skin, because apparently you could see it like this sticking out of my leg. And they put me in the back of the ambulance, and I feel like if you don't like things like this, then you probably don't like this. It makes me feel a bit funny speaking about it. But they then put me on ketamine, and I don't know if this is going to flag this for me speaking about but it was allowed. It was from the hospital. Yeah, they put me on and I remember I didn't. Their come up was horrible. You know when you see in movies like feeling like you're doing cartwheels and like the lights are all different colours, and it felt like that, and I hated that sensation so much. And I remember just before it like kind of, so it was all of this like all going mad in my head, and I remember going, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then I could still hear bits and bobs of what was going on around me in the ambulance, and they went, someone just checked the book again, I think we might have given her too much. And that was the last thing I remember before I blacked out and came back. So then I blacked out, came back, and then I was having a great time. I was chatting to all the ambulance people, and yeah, having a great time. I think when it must have been in the phase either when I was coming up and everything felt a bit weird and multicolored and cartwheels, or when I blacked out, that they had to crack my leg back into place. They weren't allowed to move me with it out of place. I don't know why, but yeah, I stayed on site. So I lay on the floor for 3 hours. They then put me in the ambulance, and I think I laid in the ambulance for about an hour and a half while they cracked my leg back into place. Um, so yeah, fun time. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Christmas Eve. Great way to spend your Christmas. I was then in hospital for about 5 days. They put oh yeah, I didn't even mention what they put in my arm when I broke it. So yeah, they operated on it, and I have a plate and screws in my arm, and then they operated on my leg, and I have a rod that goes down from my knee up to like literally like the top of my hip. And then it's got screws, and it runs through the center of the bone, which is a bit weird. And that's just in there. They're just all gonna stay in there permanently now. And I actually never got signed off to ride again, because if I land, no, it's not funny. It's really not funny, because I don't want this to happen. But if I land on my knee, then the rod will go through my knee and break my knee, and then that's a real problem. Apparently, I don't know much about it, but let's hope that doesn't happen. So yeah, that's what happened with my leg. The recovery for that was long as well. Like I say, it was in hospital for 5 days. The operation went wrong, and I had to have a blood transfusion. This is so funny to look back on, but I remember I wanted out of the hospital so, so, so bad. Like 5 days was too long for me. Bless my mum, she was in there for months. And I remember, so they'd given me a blood transfusion, and obviously it takes a while to kick in. And everything had been blurry. I think for about like a day, a good day, everything had been blurry. I couldn't see properly. And they went, right, we might discharge you today. How are you feeling? And I remember thinking, God, if I stand up, I'm going to pass out. But I want out of here so bad. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I feel great. I'm amazing. Let's go. I want to go home. And they tried to move me. They tried to stand me up. And I remember I sat on the edge of the bed, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out. I was like, can I just have a fan? I've gone a bit hot a second. They're like, yeah. Take your time. Take your time. And my vision was so, so blurred. And it had been blurred. It wasn't like it had just gone blurry. My vision had been blurred for probably about 24 hours. And I was like, oh God. And anyway, I got up. I fought through it. I went to the physio. They said, yeah, good to go home. Got signed off by everyone. And they released me, because I had said, I feel fine. I didn't feel fine. I couldn't see. And I got home, and I remember I was sat on the couch, and I couldn't move, obviously, because I had a broken leg, and it was excruciating to move with it, obviously, because it had just been operated on. Like, I had all been cut open, and I was sat on the couch, and I was just looking out into the garden through the window. Like, we have like big windows in our house. I was looking out, and I was thinking, oh my God, if my vision stays like this forever, I'll just get used to it. It's gonna be fine. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll get used to it if my vision's like this. just because I didn't want to go back to the hospital, which is so ridiculous. I should have said something to someone like, I don't feel well, I can't see. But I just didn't, I hated being in the hospital and I hated going back for all my appointments. Like, it was just horrible. And that recovery time was a year long, learning to walk again and everything. I think by the time I'd recovered, it was about a year later before I could walk properly. They actually put me in traction when I first got into the hospital that night. If you don't know what traction is, they put a weight on the bottom of your foot and it pulls your leg down basically so your leg doesn't shrink overnight whilst I was waiting to get my operation the next morning. And they left me in traction for too long and I now have one leg longer than the other. So that's brilliant. And I think that's why I struggled so much in physio, because I actually was getting used to having one leg longer than the other, as well as dealing with like having the metal and learning to walk again. So yeah, I had to learn to walk again, and like I say, I never got signed off to ride again. So yeah, it's not going well. My riding journey didn't get off to a good start, and I feel like this all happened within. Now I want to say I broke my femur like 6 years ago now. I want to say. So it happened all quite quickly. I hadn't been riding long before it all happened. Uh, let's try to sum it up. I reckon I lived with Holly for 12 months. I was having riding lessons for a year. Riding Holly's horses / having a riding lesson a week for about probably under a year. But I was around horses for a year, right? I got into horses, was around horses for a year. Then the second year, we probably had Jacob. Mum hurt herself. Then we got Tally. Then I had Tally for a year. Well, a year and a bit. So let's say that's 3 years into my journey. Got Shanty, broke my arm. That's 4 years into my riding journey. Then had like a year off with that. That's then 5 years into my riding journey. Then on the 6th year, I broke my femur. So it wasn't going well for me. I probably, in those 6 years, I didn't do a lot of riding because I was at a riding school having a lesson a week for half an hour the first year. And then I had a full year on Tally. That was probably the full year I rode and really, really enjoyed it. Then broke my arm, had a year off. Then got back into it. Probably was back into it for about a year. Then for not even a year. Probably back into it like for 6 months. Then broke my femur. So yeah, it wasn't going well for me. And because I had to learn to walk again, I then had to learn to ride again. Everyone was like, it's like riding a bike. You'll get back into it easy. Not for me. My confidence was down here. I couldn't sit on a horse without crying. Like, people be like, just sit. We won't even walk. Tears. Yeah, the confidence zero, zilch, not anything in the tank. Yeah, it wasn't a fun time. Not a fun time at all. And I would say, so yeah, after all of that, I broke my femur during Brooksby. Sorry, I feel like I'm going back and forth now. But yeah, I broke my femur whilst I was at Brooksby at the horse college. They tried to kick me out because I wouldn't be able to do any of the practicals. My dad fought it. I got my certificate, whatever it was, certificate from Brooksby. Then I wanted to be a farrier. That was why I'd gone to Brooksby in that year whilst I was learning to drive, because I couldn't get to the farrier course whilst I was, because I couldn't drive. And then the doctors just said, don't be a farrier, basically. Your leg won't be able to take the pressure. So then I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't ride because my confidence was at a zero and I just couldn't do it anymore. I then I had a year off probably recovering from horses. And then I think it probably would have been about another year whilst I was dealing with confidence and not sure if I wanted to ride again or not. And then I got back into the horses. I don't know if my time scale's right or wrong on this. I probably should have written this down beforehand. But then got back into horses when we got Monday, who is my current horse. I went for some riding lessons again just before we got Monday. And then we bought Monday, guys, go check out my TikTok. Go watch Monday. He's the cutest little cob in the world. He is a 14-2, like cob cross sports. He's just a dude. He is such a dude. If you ask anyone, they'll say that he's just a pure dude. And he is so cool. I love him so much. And yeah, I got my confidence back up on him. I found my love for dressage, which is like the main thing I compete in at the minute. Yeah, he's so cool. If it wasn't for Monday, I don't know where I would be now. And yeah, he's taught me how to ride again. He got my confidence back up, and I'm now starting to jump again. It's like starting again. When I got Monday, and I've had Monday maybe 3 years now. Yeah, 3 years now. That would make sense. And like I say, when I first got him, I was scared to do anything. Like anything. And since I've had him, I've really found my love for dressage and got back into it. And I want to event him this year. That is my goal this year. Even if, because he's not the most athletic thing in the world. But even if I do, like, his fitness as I think will hold him back. He's more than capable. But I don't know if he's going to be fit enough to do a full 1 day event. So I think we'll do like a little baby one, like a 50 centimeters, either large or doing a 50 centimeters, just as a little trial, see how we get on, see if he's fit enough to even get around a cross country course. Obviously, I'll do lots of training and stuff beforehand to try and get his fitness up, but that'll be the real test. And yeah, then see how it goes. I think I would love to get another one at some point. I share Monday with my mum, and we're constantly arguing about who gets to have lessons on what days and who gets to go on what hack and who gets to ride what night. And bless him, he'll end up doing like a good 45 minutes with me and then a good half hour with my mum most nights. So he gets ridden by both of us. And if we're having lessons, like, we'll book an hour lesson slot and she'll have the first half an hour and I'll have the second half an hour. But it'd just be lovely to be able to go out hacking with her and to have the lessons with her, because my mum loves it as well, and like she's fully back into it now. She got back into her riding after her accident. I actually think she found it a lot easier to get back into riding after her accident because she can't remember anything from hers. Like, she's just all like, I feel they do that with trauma, just blacks it out, and that's what happened for her. Um, so yeah, I think I would like to get another one soon. But yeah, goals for this year: we're gonna do Elan Lodge, and we're gonna what else I want to do? I want to do Grassroots Arena UK this year. And I would love to do a pony camp this year. We've actually got one booked. I don't know why I'm saying that like it's not booked. We're doing a pony camp this year, which would be really, really exciting. So that's kind of the horses, and that's where I'm at, and that's how I got into it. Getting my confidence back was a long process. I'm 3 years into the building the confidence back now and learning to ride again, like I say, on Monday. And like I say, flat work, I'm fine pretty much all the time now. Poles and jumping, struggle a bit more. Fields and stuff like that, again, struggle a bit. Hacking, I'm fine. And it's just a process. And you'll think, the thing with confidence is one day I'll think, I'm all better now. I can do this. And then I'll do it. And I'll enjoy it and it'll be fine. And the next day I can come back and try and do the same thing again. And I can't do it. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world because it's just such a mental block. Because I'm capable now, my leg's strong enough now, I'm strong enough now. I have a good network around me now of people and instructors, and I have regular lessons, and it's all the things are in place to make it happen. It's just my brain, the confidence. I'm scared of getting hurt again. But hopefully, guys, if we make it to Eland this year, then it's gone well. We've done something right, and the confidence, I think that will prove to me that I'm ready to get a horse of my own. If I can do that this year, get to Eland. Like, there was a point where I was just going to buy a dressage horse, but I want to event. I see all these people out eventing, and that has always been the goal for me. I did a lot of show jumping, obviously, when I was younger, but I always wanted to event. I always watched the eventers and thought that was cool, but just no one around me evented, so I just stuck to the show jumping. But now, if I was buying my own horse, I would love to event it. So we've got to get the confidence up. And if you want to speak a little bit more about confidence, I speak a lot about it with Katie Pinn in my last episode, so go check that out. I was going to speak about today how I started my company and about my events and all that kind of side, but I feel like I could do a whole other episode on that because I feel like I've just been waffling for so long that I could actually do a whole separate episode on why I started my company, like all about starting your own company and working with all the influencers and the people I've worked with and why I started the podcast, etc. So if you want to see that, let me know. Yeah, like I said, I had planned on doing it on this one, but I think I've spoken for long enough. I actually don't know how long I've been speaking for, but I've literally just spoke about getting hurt. So I'm sorry if you're dealing with confidence issues right now and you've literally just listened to me speak about getting hurt for an hour. Well, I don't know, I think I've been speaking for an hour, but 40 minutes. But I'm going to leave it there. And just if you are dealing with confidence issues right now, just know, like, it does get better, and it just is it is something that takes time. At least it did for me. And you're gonna want it to happen overnight. You're gonna wish that your confidence can grow overnight. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. If you're watching this, or and you've had hypnotherapy or anything like that, or any kind of therapy, I want to hear about it. Can you please shoot me a DM and let me know like your experience with confidence, and if you've had therapy or if you've had hypnotherapy, because I'd be really interested in seeing if people have had success stories with it or not. But yeah, I'm going to end it on that note. I hope you know a little bit more about me now, and when you're watching these episodes, I'm not a total blank canvas. And if you want me to do another solo episode and speak about my business and how I started my business and that side of things, then I can totally do that. And I will see you guys next Monday for another episode of Beyond the Stable. Next week, who have I got? I'll let you on a little teaser. Who have I got? I think. Oh, I can let you in on the next two people that are coming up. I have Justine coming on and Charlie Hutton. So they're the next two episodes, or they'll be coming out soon. I don't know what order they'll come out, but they're the next ones that are coming out, and I'm super, super excited to go film with them this week. They're gonna be. I'm really, really excited. They're gonna be good. They're gonna be good episodes, guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys next Monday. If you're watching, then make sure you're subscribing and liking. If you are on Spotify, make sure you leave me a review, preferably 5 stars. And yeah, see you next week.